This is Joel Addis, and this is my professional timeline. My first job in teaching in education was in February 2002, and I was a para in a functional classroom at the Derby 6th grade center. I worked with students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade with intellectual disabilities. And really, I had fallen into that job just looking for something different. Um, and really just fell in love with the idea of working with students and working alongside a team of educators and advocating for students. In 2003, I decided to become a teacher. And at that point, I went back to school and completed my associate's degree from Butler Community College. At that point, I also retook all the classes that I had not done well in because I never went to school the first time I went, and I graduated with a pretty decent GPA. In fall of 2005, I had left my job at the 6th grade center. I had gotten married that summer to my wife, and I started working on my bachelor's at Wichita State. Um, my major was in elementary education with a minor in psychology, and then I also completed my provisional coursework for my special education adaptive endorsement. During that time, I worked as a substitute for Derby Public Schools, and I also was a part-time summer custodian, and I did my student teaching in Park City, Kansas. Um, in April 2007, I was hired by Derby to be an interrelated teacher beginning that fall. I graduated from Wichita State in May, and then in July, I completed my provisional coursework. In August of 2007, I started my first teaching job, and I was a 3rd through 5th grade interrelated teacher at Swaney Elementary. And I also started my master's from Wichita State in adaptive special education, and I joined Derby NEA. That last one's actually very important because being a member of my local association has really provided me a lot of opportunities to build my capacity as a leader, and I think that'll be reflected within my professional timeline. In August of 2008, I began serving on our district benefits committee, and I served on that committee a very long time, really just until this current school year when I stopped taking the district insurance. Also in August of 2008, I started serving on the Superintendent's Advisory Council, which is an anonymous way to bring concerns to the attention of the superintendent. And I served on that through May of 2010. In March of 2010, my oldest son was born, and I also started working on my research project for my master's, just due to having a newborn and not really intending to get a doctorate at any point in time. I chose not to write a thesis. And so my project's focus was comparing the effectiveness of two inclusion models on student growth by comparing two classes growth using standardized tests. In April of that year, I was notified of a job change. Our numbers had dropped pretty significantly over 3 years, and I was going to be moved to Oaklawn Elementary to be a kindergarten through 2nd grade interrelated teacher. In May of that year, I left Swaney, and I was also recognized as the DNEA New Teacher of the Year for that school year. In July of 2010, I finished my master's, and then in August, I started at Oaklawn Elementary. And at that time, I also served on the positive improvement team for the district. In December of 2010, I was nominated and elected to serve as a DNEA rep on the district's Special Education Advisory Council. And then in January, I was elected to be the chairperson of that committee. And I have served in that role. I still serve in that role. So, yes. In February of 2011, we were notified that our principal was leaving Oaklawn Elementary, and I was selected to be the chair of that building level selection committee. We interviewed all of the candidates and then provided feedback to district personnel as they made their decision. In April of that year, I completed a course in basic cognitive coaching through the district. And then I also was elected to serve as a delegate to the KNEA Representative Assembly, which I have done every year since. In May of 2012, our numbers had dropped at Oaklawn, and I was going to be moved to El Paso Elementary to serve as a kindergarten through second grade interrelated teacher. I was also hired as an ESY facilitator, and I have worked in that role every summer through last summer. And the last 3 years, I have worked with some teachers who were also working on their practicum. And so I've served as an advisor and a mentor and a supervisor to those teachers. In May of 2012, I left Oaklawn. In June of 2012, I participated in advanced cognitive coaching through the district. I had to apply to do that, and I was chosen. In August of 2012, I started at El Paso and was elected to their building leadership team, which I served on until May of 2021. And then for that, as part of that committee, I chaired the building's behavioral committee and served on the site council. In November of 2012, I was selected to attend the KNEA REACH training in Topeka, and that training was designed to build leadership skills and capacity for potential local leaders. It's available for teachers within their second 5 years of teaching. In that spring of 2013, I was asked to be a part of the interview committee as an elementary special ed rep for our new technology director for the district. In May of 2015, my son had been born in February of 2013, my middle son. And so he was a couple of years old, and then I was notified of another job change. This one did not involve leaving my current building, but instead my role expanded, and I was the kindergarten through fifth grade interrelated resource teacher. That same month, we found out that our principal was leaving and moving to Oklahoma, and so I chaired the committee, much like I did at Oaklawn, for the building level selection committee. In October of 2015, there was a lack of leadership in our parent-teacher organization at the building. I was a parent. My oldest was in kindergarten, and my youngest son had been born the previous summer, so we live in the El Paso area. We knew that we were going to be committed to the building for a while. And so I joined the PTO executive board as the secretary. That May, I was elected the president, and I served for 2 years in that role. In October of 2016, my numbers had decreased at El Paso due to a boundary change. We went from about 50 students with exceptionalities in the building down to 14. And so for the remainder of that year, I split my time in between El Paso and Swaney. It was a 70-30 split. That April, I was selected to participate in TASN, the Technical Assistant Support Network, Coaching 101 training. And then that summer, I participated in their Summer Institute for Structured Teaching. And that transformed the way that I approached behavior. It really changed the way that I taught and interacted with my students. And then, as you'll see ahead in my timeline, it also allowed me some additional opportunities to build my capacity as a leader. In October of 2017, I volunteered as part of DNEA's board candidate forum, and also was part of the team that interviewed board candidates. That December, I collaborated with my administrator, our school social worker, and school psychologist, and we developed structured safe spots, which were universally used throughout our building. And then in January, at an all-day in-service, we spent part of our day providing training to El Paso staff. That January, I also joined the El Paso Positive Intervention team. In February, I was asked to mentor a first-year special education teacher, specifically focusing on IEP construction and data collection. I was kind of a supplemental mentor through the spring for him. In May of 2018, I was elected to the DNEA Sick Leave Bank. and that is DNEA provides oversight for the sick leave bank for the certified staff group. In June of 2018, I attended another leadership workshop through KNEA, and I then in July started my first official mentorship with the teacher I'd worked with the previous year, and that was a 2-year commitment. In September of 2018, I was elected chairperson of the DNEA Sick Leave Bank Committee, and I served in that role for 2 years. And during that time, we rewrote the bylaws twice. The first time was in conjunction with a team where I drafted and they provided feedback. And really, the goal was just to update our bylaws after 10 years of them not being touched. The second time we did it, we added some different features to the bank. And that was mainly me writing the draft and then taking it to the certified bargaining group for election. In that October, I was asked to serve on the El Paso Instructional Review Committee, and that lasted through the year. I collaborated with building and district staff and actually spoke at several board meetings. In November of 2018, I served on the Boundary Review Committee for the district. We were updating our boundaries again, and I was an El Paso parent and teacher representative. In January 2019, one of my favorite experiences is during my time at El Paso happened. Our district was doing teacher-led in-service for an entire day, and I presented a module on the principles of structured teaching. It was a 90-minute session, and I had about 120 teachers move through during the day. I really enjoyed that. That January, I was also asked to serve as an elementary rep on our special education director interview team. Our previous director had left and went to Wichita Public Schools, and we had 2 interim co-directors, and so I served on that team. In April of 2019, I was elected vice president of DNEA. In July, I attended another summer leadership training through KNEA. In June. And then in July, it was my task to plan our new teacher breakfast. And that's done in conjunction with the district. We plan it. It's an opportunity for new teachers to be introduced to each other. And then I actually spoke at the breakfast for Sick Leave Bank. In August of 2019, I continued my mentorship of special education teacher JY, and then I began the year 1 of my mentoring program for special education teacher BB, and then also worked the new teacher breakfast. That same month, there is not an official department chair for the elementary interrelated teachers, but I was chosen to be the unofficial one. And at one point, our assistant directors basically told me it was mine to do with what I wanted, as long as I covered the topics that they needed covered every month. And so just communicated with them, created agendas. I also served as the contact point for our curriculum department regarding concerns. It was an interesting role to kind of fall into. In September of 2019, I was asked to be part of the district math curriculum adoption committee. And then I organized the board candidate forum for October 2019. And then that next month, I organized and participated in the interviews for endorsement. That March, school had shut down. And then I was asked to be part of a large group of Derby teachers who would look at what the rest of the school year would look like for our staff and students. I also, in my capacity as vice president, worked on writing a memorandum of understanding. Just because teachers were working in different ways, parts of the contract would not apply. And so in April of that year, I chaired another principal interview committee as our administrator was moving into a different role in the district. In May of that year, I was elected president of DNEA. And I am currently in this role, which has created just some interesting things. I well, later in my timeline. As part of this role, I communicate regularly with district leadership, organize and conduct building rep meetings, and we also have a regular spot on board meeting agendas. And that's something in Derby's contract. And so I speak at each board meeting, highlighting things that our association and members are doing throughout the district. In June of 2020, DNEA collaborated with district administration to review the KSDE Return to Learn plan and how it would apply to the upcoming school year. And then I also, that July, took on several things. The Continuous Learning Plan Committee for the district, that was a continuation of the committee that I served in March. And we just collaborated throughout last school year and into this summer. In July, I was also asked to step in as DNEA president and serve on the calendar committee as we had to rewrite a calendar to basically fit with what our new timeline would be. Our school start date moved back about 3 weeks. That July, I also worked with 3 other DNEA members, and we worked with the superintendent and our 2 assistant superintendents to write a 21-point memorandum of understanding for the upcoming school year. And then I also conducted the vote of the certified bargaining unit to see if it would pass. That July, I also was elected to attend the National Education Association Representative Assembly. I also worked through July to organize and hold the DNEA New Teacher Breakfast, and that was different because instead of all coming together, it was held at each building, and we worked to create a video presentation. So I recorded our superintendent. I created a graphic like an animated presentation for our sick leave bank, and then recorded myself making a speech. In August of 2020, I was asked to serve on the USD 260 gating committee. So last school year, the district met every 2 weeks to determine what mode of learning we would be in for the next 2 weeks by looking at county and local data. It consisted of parents, community doctors, district administration, board members, building administration, myself, and then a past president who taught at the high school. That August, after some very strong encouragement from my building administrator, I made the decision to pursue building leadership through this program. In September of 2020, I was asked to serve as part of USD's 260 Strategy 3 Committee, focusing on the personnel portion of the district strategic plan. In December of 2020, I, like our entire district, spent a month doing remote learning, and that was very different. I had to organize my paraeducators into scheduled sessions, running breakout rooms from my own computer while I was working in a breakout room myself from a different computer with students. That January, I was asked by our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources to be interviewed by Cake News for a segment on community support. In March of 2020, I was one of 2,000 teachers across the nation, 2,500 teachers, who was invited to participate in a virtual leadership summit hosted by the NEA. I also worked on the association side as part of the interest-based bargaining process. That March, I also began my coursework for school law. April of 2021, I worked with association colleagues to write a grant focusing on membership and recruitment and retention, and we were approved for a $1,500 grant. I was also reelected president of DNEA. And I hosted a student teacher who was completing her undergraduate work in through Fort Hays State. In May of 2021, I received recognition from KNEA as an outstanding new local president. And then in June of 21, something interesting happened, June of this year, that I didn't expect. We had a position in the district of a site coordinator for COVID-19. And the person who was currently in that job had left it to go to a building. I was encouraged to apply for that job by district administration, applied and interviewed and received it. So I'm in a unique position because I'm president of the association, but I'm also part of our district leadership team. I coordinate with the health department, and I supervise a team to help enact board policy related to COVID-19 measures and our district response plan. And so currently, I have 2 assistants who work with me to help our county contact trace and identify high risk and low risk close contacts and communicate with them. And then a team of 10 testers who conduct antigen testing for students whose parents have consented to the program to allow them to stay in school when they're identified as a close contact. And the testing occurs at 2 offsite locations from 6 to 8:30, and then at each building throughout the rest of the day. In June of 2021, I began my supervision and evaluation coursework. In July, I attended another representative assembly for the NEA and completed my intro to school administration coursework. In August of 2021, I completed a more typical new teacher breakfast for DNEA. I began my coursework, special education for school leaders, and I was also asked to mentor an additional new teacher. At this point, I was not mentoring anyone, and so this was an additional thing that I could do, and I really enjoy mentoring new teachers, so it was ideal. In August of 2021, I did several other things. I coordinated with the health department to organize on-site vaccination clinics at school sites. I also was asked in my role as association president to attend the Kansas Can Succeed tour that was completed by Randy Watson. And I encouraged other teachers to be part of that as well, successfully. There were lots of teachers in the group that night. I also worked with the Director of Special Services and Communication Director on the grant application for KDHE for the on-site testing, and participated in interviews for those staff for that. In October of 2021, I organized and executed the board candidate forum and those endorsement interviews. And then I officially took on oversight of the COVID testing team this month as well. I've also started my coursework for educational finance, and in looking now to the future, in December of this year, I will do an intercession class for school and community relations. In January of next year, I will start my practicum. My intention is to be done with all of my requirements in May. And then in fall, I want to continue to be serving in my leadership role. Officially, my current position is only a 1-year job. And so afterwards, I hope to have an opportunity to continue working as part of the district leadership team. I don't, at this point, have a strong preference. I can see benefits and things that would excite me about working and being a principal of a building, but then also continuing to serve at the level I'm serving now. I am also thinking through the decision to continue at Fort Hays State and get my district level endorsement as well. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, and please let me know if you have any questions.